Happiest of Fridays to everybody. It's so nice to have you here. I hear the little dings of our room as people start to enter the room and join me live. We've got 45 minutes of flow style Pilates mat work to go through today. Grab a cushion for when we're on hands and knees. Grab a mat if you don't already have one. I have a nice padded room behind me, so I'm not super worried about being on that floor myself, but grab a mat if you think you might need to get a little extra padding for when we're on all fours. Grab an extra cushion if you think that might be useful for your knees, if your knees do get sensitive when you're in a kneeling position, because we will be spending a fair amount of time on hands and knees and then actually in various kneeling positions as well today. Let's remember to work through at a pace that makes sense for our own each individual bodies. Every day is an adventure, so we can respect that and also move along as best we can. But let's go ahead and start without further ado. Grab that cushion and we'll make our way up to standing on our mats or on the floor. All right, I'm in a fairly small room here with not a lot of room between the screen and my body, so I'm going to stand with my feet pretty wide apart. I'd encourage you to have your feet at least shoulder width apart. If you want them a little wider, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to go ahead and settle my weight back toward my heels and point my toes toward the bottom front corner of the room that I'm in. We're going to bend our knees a little bit more, just allowing those thigh muscles to cushion our descent into that little plie or squat type of position. Let's think about sending the crown of the head up to the ceiling and also drawing that tailbone down as if there's a string between those 2 points that we're drawing as far away from each other as we can. We're going to squeeze our glutes a little and send the outside joints of our back toward the wall behind us. We'll feel that engagement through the rear end muscles, maybe a little bit of an opening and stretch through the front and the inner portions of our thighs. And if we pulse down gently, we're going to start to warm up those thigh muscles. As we do that, let's see if we can dual task. Let's see if we can think about pressing our big toe, our pinky toe, and our heel firmly into the floor and give us a nice base of support. Feel the burn through those thighs as those muscles engage, and we'll pulse for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's come up a little bit higher. So knees are still a little bit bent to absorb some shock. We're going to draw the belly and the spine toward each other and feel that seatbelt of muscle right between those lowest ribs and the top of the pelvis. There's some work going on between the breastbone all the way down to that pubic bone. Let's hold that engagement through the midsection and we'll shrug the shoulders to the ears. Big breath in. Breathing out, we'll drop those shoulders down the back of the body. Again, big breath in, shrug those shoulders to the ears. Exhaling, we'll drop them down. Let's tip our head side to side as we gently reach our fingertips toward the outsides of our knee joints. As we tip the ear to each shoulder, we're going to feel the neck and the top of the shoulder lengthening out on the side that we're moving our head away from. Coming back to center, nod the chin gently back toward the neck, and let's turn the head, maintaining a touch of that chin nod. We should feel some stretch and some length on both sides of the neck as we continue to turn our head and we spin that head on the long axis that goes right through the crown of it. Well, let's look forward and we'll breathe our arms up and overhead. We'll bring them out to the side and down. Let's bring those arms out to shoulder height and stretch the fingertips as far away from the center of body as we can get them. Breastbone to fingertip, we're going to lengthen out away, reaching those hands into the longest wingspan we can make. Let's hold here, reset the belly to the spine, and we're going to turn our breastbone, making some small rotations with the upper body from side wall to side wall. Your nose stays lined up with the breastbone. That breastbone and rib cage guide the motion. Inhale, face the screen, exhale and turn. Inhale, face the screen, and exhale, turn. Let's inhale, face the screen again, and we're going to trace some small circles on those outside walls, moving from the fingertips and letting those shoulders spin in their sockets. If you feel solid on your feet, please think about closing your eyes. With the vision out of the mix, we can focus a little bit more about what our feet are doing to keep us upright. Open the eyes up again. Circle for 3, 2, and 1. Squeeze your blades, take those hands and bring them toward the wall behind, and we'll give them a little pulse to open up the chest. Pulse 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the arms down by the sides, and we're going to heel toe those feet in a little closer. They're now going to be just in line with our hips. So they're lined up with the outsides of our hip joints, right where the points and the sides of the hips are. We're going to take our pinky side of our hands right to where the femurs fold into the pelvis. And then let's fold our trunk forward over the hands. The curves in our back and our neck are the same, or as close as the same as we can get them as they are when we're in standing. And we're going to reach our fingertips toward the mat. Squeeze your glutes. From here, we're going to feel those outer hips working a little bit more. And let's push our weight from foot to foot. Feel the glutes and even the tops of the hamstrings engage as we load one side and then the other. Shifting right back over the middle, let's move to a row. Squeeze and release those shoulder blades. Tucking the elbows in just above the waistline, coming toward the ceiling. 4, 3, 2 more. Squeeze and hold, and let's press our arms straight, bringing the hands to the wall behind us. Press and press. Press 4, 3, last 2, and 1. Let's bring ourselves up nice and tall. Big breath in, shrug the shoulders, and exhale, release them. Let's give those shoulders a little shaking release, and we'll bring our feet in just a touch closer. Feet are still parallel to each other with the toes pointing forward. And now we're going to take our hands to the front of the waist, the thumbs to the back of the waistline, and shift the weight forward. We've been resting over back toward our heels. We're now going to get our weight over the front of our ankle joints. From here, if we press the fingertips and the thumbs in toward each other, we should feel a little bit of engagement through our midsection as we bring our weight toward our toes and then back toward our heels. Let's move forward and back in a range where we can keep the toes and the heels on the floor. Our trunk muscles kick in almost automatically with respect to gravity. We're trying to just control ourselves, and the only thing our brain is concerned about is keeping those eyes straight ahead and our bodies from hitting the floor. Coming right back over the ankle joints, press the weight from foot to foot. Similar to what we were doing bent forward, but we're going to feel a little bit less through our glutes now, and our fingertips are going to help us monitor that our core does indeed engage a little differently depending where we are in that range. Make some circles around that base, moving forward, sideways, backwards, and over to the other side of the foot. And we feel those muscles turn on and off underneath our fingertips as we go. Switch directions. We're drawing a nice circle on the ceiling with the crown of the head. Let's spread those toes apart, pause with the weight over the balls of the feet, and hover the heels up off the floor as we come forward just in front of the balls of the feet. Can we lift up and down onto our toes? We don't have to go super high. Can we lift up and down as many times as we can, keeping that support and that weight over the balls of the feet, keeping from losing our balance. Feel free to take it up higher if you're comfortable doing so. And we're going to start to feel the backs of our thighs and our glutes kick in as we continue to lift and lower. Our calves do the work, but the back of the legs, the rest of them get a little bit of overflow work. Let's lower our heels. Once they touch, we'll push the weight right back over the middle of the ankle joint again. And let's stand still, shake everything out, and get ready to make your way to the mat. So grab any extra padding you'd like to have, and we're going to turn and face lengthwise on your mat, or with one side of the head facing the screen. One ear faces the screen. We're looking straight ahead of ourselves now. That extra padding is going to go about 1 to 1.5 feet in front of our toes, depending on the lengths of your shin, because we want to be able to get our kneecaps down to that extra padding as we make our way to the floor. So from here, we're going to reach our arms forward, up and overhead, and look to the fingertips. Let's look forward, reach our hands toward the wall in front, and then down by the sides. Let's slide our hands down the sides of the thighs as we fold from the hips and bend toward the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need to get those hands right down onto the mat. And we're going to walk ourselves forward, line up the shoulders over the wrists, and let's lower our knees down to our extra padding, or simply down onto our mat if that's where we are. From here, press the big toes firmly into the mat and feel that stretch underneath the ball of the foot in that inner portion. Press your pinky toes into the floor and feel the ball of the foot stretch out on the outside portion of the foot. Let's gently rock the bottom back to the heels, and then we'll bring our body weight right back over those wrists. Take it back and forth, rocking at a pace that allows you to ease into a little bit more mobility, a little bit more stretch through the feet all the way back. That allows you to come over the wrists and get a little bit of a stretch to the underside of the forearm on the way forward. One more time, we'll rock back. We'll rock up to on all fours, press the heels of the hands into the mat, and with the belly drawn toward the spine, we curl to cat, curl that pelvis under, pubic bone toward breastbone. Reverse to cow, lengthen the tailbone to the ceiling and that breastbone forward. Again, let's curl to cat and reverse to cow. Curl it up and reverse, and then let's bring that body right back to neutral before wagging the tail from side to side. Upper body stays still, and we move our hips from one shoulder to the other. Coming back to center, let's turn the tops of the feet toward the mat and take 1 foot at a time out toward each side wall, allowing that hip to rotate inward. Getting a little bit of length through the glutes, a little bit of length through those short muscles that surround our hips. Let's go ahead and cross one foot over the opposite lower leg, giving a little bit of outward rotation. Getting a little bit of length to some of those pelvic floor muscles, both directions will feel that. All right, let's bring our toes together, take the knees apart, and we'll press our bottom gently back toward the heels, lengthening the arms forward toward child pose. I want you to pause at the first sign of stretch at the sides of the upper arms, at the sides of those shoulder blades. And if you feel any pulling or guitar string type mobility or motion at the armpit or even down toward the elbow, I do want you to bend your elbows, get a little more slack in the system. We bend here, or if you have a little more room to give, we can walk our hands toward the head of the mat and lower that forehead down toward the floor. And as we lower our forehead, we're going to feel the upper back stretch out a little bit more. Let's take a breath here. Feel the rib cage open up, and as we breathe out, we'll walk our hands toward the screen and pause with one right next to the other, allowing us to lengthen through the far side of the body. Take a breath here, and then breathing out, we'll walk our hands to the other side. As we bring our hands away from the screen, we're going to feel the screen side of the body open up. As we breathe, we'll picture those muscles between our ribs lengthening away from each other. Exhaling, we take our hands forward and we lower our forearms to the mat. Let's slide our elbows in toward the inner knee joint lines and rock that body from side to side, just getting a little bit of mobility through the upper inner thighs. We'll come back to the middle, walk those forearms forward. We're going to keep them on the floor and keep the elbows slightly bent. And then let's shift our weight forward till the shoulders and wrists line up. If you do have extra padding under your knees, let's take it out and bring it off to the side to be used a little bit later when we make our way back up to all fours. And keeping the core engaged, belly to spine, let's lengthen our legs back behind us and lower that body down until we're resting in the middle of our upper thighs. The crown of the head is pointing up toward the midpoint of the wall in front of us, and our breastbone is slightly elevated, pointing toward the wall, right where it meets the floor in front of us. We're going to reset belly to spine and squeeze our shoulder blades together, allowing the trunk to come down. Press through those blades, feel the underarm muscles come into play. Squeeze and press. That trunk comes closer to the floor and closer to the ceiling as we continue to move through those motions. Squeeze and squeeze, press and hold. Hold 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and bring that upper body down just a touch. We're going to turn onto our sides and rest with the forearm facing our screen, upper arm vertical, so elbow and shoulder are lined up with each other. Let's take our knees forward. The body is piked. We have our knees in front of us just a bit. So the knees and the hands are approximately lined up with each other in front of us. From here, we're going to make sure that shoulder's away from our ears. So we press gently down. If this is enough work through that supporting shoulder, I do want you to stay there. We're going to do some arm motions to increase leverage and make that trunk work a little bit more. So the first thing we do is take our hand to the waistline, and we're going to lift that waistline up a little bit from the mat. As we do so, if we press our fingertips in below those ribs, we're going to feel some tension in those abdominal muscles, which we can increase by pulling the navel gently back toward the spine. Let's take our arm up to the ceiling, that free arm. If we have a little bit more tolerance to bear weight through that supporting shoulder, you are welcome to lift up to a side plank. Otherwise, I want that hip on the mat. From here, whether the hip is down or lifted, we're going to take that forearm forward, bringing the hand to the floor, and we'll press right up to the ceiling. Hand comes down, press it up 2 more times, whether that hip is lowered or lifted. Hand to the ceiling, 1 more time, lower and lift. If the upper body is doing the most of the work here, and if that hip is lifted, we're going to lower the hip. We'll come through the center, press that elbow straight, and give that shoulder some love. We're going to give it a little bit of rotation back. We'll give it a shrug, and we'll tip the head away from midline. Alrighty, coming back to center, let's repeat that sequence on the other side, appreciating that there may be symmetry or asymmetry in our 2 sides here. So we're going to respect what this side does, regardless of what the other side did. So with the hands pointing forward and the upper arm vertical, we'll press our shoulder away from the ear, get those knees lined up with the front hand, and we'll take our top hand to the waistline underneath and lift gently up, pressing the fingertips in to ensure that those core muscles are active. And then we draw the belly back to the spine to get a little bit more engagement. Let's float our top arm to the ceiling, and if you are comfortable doing so, challenge yourself a bit by lifting the hips up off the mat. Whether the hips are lifted or lowered, now we take that second hand down to the mat and reach it toward the ceiling. Take it down. This is shoulder stability. This is also a significant amount of core work. Hand comes down, Hand lifts up, and one more time. Take that hand out in front. Lift it up to the top. We'll take one more breath here, and then we'll gently lower that hip down to the mat before taking ourselves up to a seated position, however you're comfortable. Again, we'll give that weight bearing shoulder a few rolls back and down. Maybe we reflect on how much work one side's doing versus the other. They might be the same, it might be inconsequential, but something to think about. Tip that head away from our supporting shoulder side, and then we'll bring the head up. All right, let's make our way down to the mat again. We're gonna start on our side, and then we'll turn onto our backs. So what we wanna get here is bent knees, heels lined up with our sit bones, and the heels are a few inches away from our bottoms here. Let's nod the chin down toward the neck and drop that breastbone and our middle back toward the floor. We'll take our hands to the lowest portion of our ribs, and let's guide those hands and those ribs down toward the belly button. So we feel a little bit more engagement. We feel our upper abdominals working just a touch, and the middle of the upper back and middle back is gonna press gently into the floor. Let's draw belly to spine, and with our hands down by our sides, keeping the core engaged, we're gonna come up onto our tiptoes all the way up. Let's bring one knee up to 90 degrees and the other knee up to tabletop. Let's dip one foot at a time down to the mat before bringing it back up to tabletop. Imagining that we're lowering our foot with control toward a pool that we're not sure how cold it is. Tentatively touch that toe down, then bring it right back up. Let's repeat. Nodding the chin, we're going to be able to gaze toward our kneecaps as we continue to walk those feet down and up. And if we want to make this more challenging, flex the feet and dip your heel down and take it back up. Those extra few inches of forward lengthening will pull into that lower abdominal area. It'll make it work a little harder. Maybe we tap our foot down a little bit farther away from the hips as we come down. Again, we feel a little bit more work. It's a little tougher to keep that midsection under control. Let's repeat. Tap 4, lift it up. Here's 3, and lift. 2, and lift. Last one. Lift the knees up. We're going to point the toes again, draw everything into the chest, and let the front of the hips release as the knees come in a little closer to the body. Let's rock that body from side to side and take a big breath in. Keep rocking as we take a big breath out. Coming back to center, we're going to keep a hold of that far knee. Reset belly to spine and stretch that leg closest to the screen forward, and then lower it down to the heels just a few inches from the mat. Lengthen your toes away from the bent knee as best you can. Nod the chin. Switch the legs, pull and press. Again, lengthen those toes toward the wall. Hover that heel up off the floor and reset belly to spine. Let's keep that knee where it is. We're going to press our arms into the floor, switch the legs, pull and press. Switch and press. Switch and press. Switch and press. Switch and press. Repeat for 4, for 3, and 2. Last one, we're going to keep that far leg drawn in, give it a hug with the hands, and lower that leg closest to the screen down to the mat. We press the back of that knee as firmly as we can into the floor, and then let's take that bent knee and draw it across the body. We're trying to lengthen into the outer hip. We can give a little more of a pull toward the screen and allow that hip to come up off the mat, so we get a little trunk rotation here. Let's breathe back to the middle and repeat on the other side. Draw the knee in, lengthen that other leg forward, and gently bring that bent knee across the body until we can lift our hip up and lengthen through our trunk, giving a little rotation. Let's breathe back to center, hang on behind the lifted thigh, and kick the thigh into the hands. Lengthen through the knee, reach the toes up, find the stretch in the back of the leg, and then bend back to tabletop. Straighten and bend. Straighten and bend, straighten up those knees, pointing the toes to the ceiling, and then wiggle that ankle, flex and point. 3, and 2, and 1. Wiggle those toes from side to side, from screen to the far wall. Point the toes up to the ceiling, kick the thigh into the hands, and tighten the abdominals. Or draw the belly to the spine and hover that supporting leg up off the floor. Let's circle that hovered leg on the wall in front, doing our best to move out of that hip joint, keeping the rest of the body nice and still. We can circle the other way. Maybe we take our arms to the ceiling, make that core work a little harder. Lower that hovered leg to the mat, and then take that lifted leg. We're going to arc it side to side, moving in a range where we can keep the back of the pelvis nice and still. And that navel pointing up toward the ceiling. Let's roll through some circles, stirring the hip socket, keeping that pelvis nice and still. Couple more. Pause up at the top, breathing in, and taking that exhale, we'll sweep ourselves in circles the other way. There's 4, 3, you're always welcome to move a little slower, a little faster than I am. Last time, let's bend up that knee, give it a hug into the chest, big breath in. As we breathe out, we'll switch legs. Draw the far knee into the chest, slide that opposite leg out along the mat, and hang on behind the lifted thigh as we kick the thigh into the hands. Lengthen, take those toes to the ceiling, and then bend. Straighten out that knee, and bend 2 more. Lengthen, and bend. Straighten up that knee, reach the toes to the ceiling. Maybe we wiggle our hip from side to side. Flex and point those toes. 2 more. Last one, we point, we kick the thigh into the hands gently, hover the supporting leg up off the floor, drawing the navel to the spine. Let's circle the wall in front of us with that lifted leg. Reverse directions, maybe taking the hands to the mat. Reach the toes toward that wall. We'll lower our hovered leg, bringing the hands to the ceiling, and let's take that lifted one out from side to side. Crossing the body if that feels appropriate. We want to make sure we keep that pelvis still as we can. Even if that means bending that moving leg a touch to take some pressure off, put some slack back into the system. Circle the ceiling, stirring that knee in its socket. Keep pressing the back of that supporting leg firmly into the mat. Circle the other way. There's 4, 3, 2 more. And up to the ceiling. Hug that knee into the chest, release the front of the hip. We'll take our other knee in to meet it, and let's rock that body from side to side as we take a big breath in. And as we take a big breath out. Coming back to center, grab those kneecaps. We'll guide the legs back up to tabletop and press the hands into the thigh, engaging a little bit more through that midsection. Let's stretch those toes up to the ceiling. Hold them there. Reach the arms up. Okay, if those knees are a little bit bent, that's all right. We're going to turn our hips away from each other just a little bit. Rotate those kneecaps to point out toward the sides of the wall behind us. Hold it here. Press those shoulder blades up to the ceiling. We're going to leave a little bit of forward pressure there. Keeping the core engaged, let's lower both feet slightly forward down the wall in front of us. We'll flex the feet and draw the heels back to the ceiling. Point, exhale, lowering the legs down the wall. Flex and draw them back up to that L position for the body. Let's repeat at a speed that makes sense for you, through the range that makes sense for you. If it is not working, have the knees straight. Hold those knees into a little more of a bent position. Flex them, point them down. One more time, flex those feet up. Point them down. We're going to flex in that reach forward position. Turn the heels toward each other, toes apart, and we'll move the heels in toward the body with the knees away for frog. Exhale, press forward to the wall. Inhale to frog. Exhale and press. Inhale to frog. Exhale and press. One more time. Inhale to frog. Exhale, press. We'll turn those legs parallel to each other. Bring them to the ceiling, and then again, hug the knees in as we rock that body from side to side. Take a big breath in. Take a big breath out, and we'll come right back to center. Let's bring our arms down by our sides with those knees tucked in. Big breath in, and exhaling, we widen our collarbones away from center. Let's keep that core engaged and unfurl the knees to tabletop before extending the legs to the ceiling. Breathe the feet apart. Find the length through the inner thighs. And then inhale them together. Exhale apart, inhale together. 2 more here. Exhale apart, reset belly to spine. Inhale together. Last time, exhale them apart. Inhale together. Take those ankle bones, glue them together, and we'll do our corkscrews. We're going to circle both legs. One direction. If we start clockwise, we'll move counterclockwise for the next round. Vice versa. Circle one more time. Take a breath in at the top, and then breathing out, we'll circle the other way, resetting belly to spine as needed. Here's 3. Circle 2. And last one. Hug those knees into the chest. Rock that body from side to side. We'll take our shins away from each other, allowing that inner thigh area to stretch out, open up, and come right back to center. Hang on to those kneecaps, and we're gonna guide our feet back down to the floor. Let's float our arms back to the ceiling, breathing in. Exhaling, we're gonna open our arms out toward the side walls. Right before they touch the mat in a T, we're gonna bend the elbows to 90 degrees and see if we can reach the backs of our hands toward the floor. Okay, settle the elbows down to the mat, shoulder width or shoulder height, and then let's see if we can now again take the backs of the hands toward the mat. We're rotating outwardly through our shoulders. It may be easier to get one side down than the other. Let's take a breath here. Exhaling, nod the chin, drop your breastbone down, and again, take those lowest ribs down to the floor. That may pop our hands up a little higher. We're gonna go with that now. We're gonna keep that core stability. Trunk stays nice and still. Rotate the fingertips up to the ceiling and rotate them back to reach toward the wall behind. Rotate up and forward, rotate back. Elbows stay on the mat and mid-back stays on the mat. Teaching our shoulders to roll in their socket without the blades going along for the ride and without the back going along for the ride. Breathe those hands toward the ceiling. We'll extend the elbows up, reaching the fingertips toward the ceiling, and now let's open those arms back overhead. Flex those shoulders, taking the arms back as close to head level as we can. As we stretch our fingertips toward the wall behind us, we're gonna lower our thumbs toward the mat. Maybe they touch, maybe they're hovered a few inches off the mat. From here, stretch your shoulder blades up toward the ceiling, poking into more of a stretch through the outside borders of those blades. Release the blades. We're going to open our arms out toward T, float them down by our sides, and turn the palms over to press into the mat. Let's rock our knees from side to side. One more time to each and get ready for some bridges. Knees come to the ceiling. We'll walk our heels in a little closer to the bottom. Take a big breath in. Breathe out belly to spine. Press through the heels and squeeze those glutes as we lift up to bridge. Keep lengthening the knees toward the wall in front, and we lower those hips down. Down to the mat, squeeze and lift. Lower them down, squeeze and lift. Lower them down, squeeze and lift. One more time, lower those hips, squeeze and lift. We're gonna hold the hips in the air, lift the heels. Lower the hips, lower the heels. Raise the hips, raise the heels, lower the hips, lower the heels. Let's reverse that sequence now. Lift the heels, squeeze and lift the hips. Hips stay up as we lower our heels. Lower the hips, lift the heels, lift the hips, lower the heels, lower the hips. One more time. Lift the heels, lift the hips, lower the heels, lower the hips. Big breath in and exhale. Squeeze and lift up, pressing the heels into the mat. Let's take one knee at a time out toward the side walls, keeping those hips up in the air. Take them side to side. There's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Big breath in and exhale, bridge down. Release the hips at the bottom and rock those legs from side to side. Knees to the screen and knees to the far wall. Again, knees to the screen. Knees to the far wall. Bring those knees back up to face the ceiling. We reset belly to spine, walk the heels a little closer to the bottom. We're going to stretch our fingertips down toward our feet as we breathe in and exhale, squeezing. We lift up to the bridge. Let's keep our hips up as we move through a march, taking one knee at a time toward the body. As one knee lifts, our other heel presses firmly into the mat to help keep that pelvis nice and stable. Lift and march. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Press that second foot in the mat. Take a big breath in. Exhaling, we lengthen down. Release the glutes at the bottom. Rock those knees side to side. One more time each. And bring those knees back toward the ceiling. We're going to take our far ankle, cross it over the knee closest to the screen, and if we have a little more slack, lift that uncrossed leg up. Whether that leg is lifted or remaining on the mat, we're going to rock away from our crossover side. Feeling the stretch, move a little. We could feel inner thigh, we might feel outer thigh, or we might feel the rear end. opening and lengthening out through those muscles as we keep our body rocked away from that crossover side. Let's take it back to center and we'll unwind. Other knee crosses, and if we have a little more room, we lift. Rock away from the crossed leg, whether it's lifted or on the mat, or the other one's on the mat. Let's take a big breath to center. Unwind those legs and guide the feet back to the floor. We'll turn our body toward that screen. Let's come up and we'll make our way to hands and knees. So if you do have extra padding that you want to use, go ahead and grab it now. And here we are settled up. Wrists and shoulders, knees and hips are lined up with each other. I'm going to tuck my shirt in so you can see what's going on in my midsection. So we are going for an engagement of the belly. We're drawing it back to the spine without losing that spinal position. From here, keep those elbows nice and still. We'll squeeze our shoulder blades together behind the back and then press those blades forward toward the floor. Squeeze together, press apart. What we're trying to do here is get that motion to come from underneath those shoulder blades as much as possible. Squeeze and press. Blades come together. Blades come apart. Let's hold them apart and move to a shoulder tap. One hand comes right up to the opposite shoulder. Hands are right underneath the shoulders when they're on the floor. But if we want to make that more challenging, widen up that base so the hands come away from the center of the body. They're coming away. If you're on a mat, they're going to be right at the outer borders of your mat. If we want to change it up a little bit more, take those hands forward, back at shoulder level. Re-engage belly to spine and shift forward. Open the hips up until we again bring the shoulders over the wrists. We'll hold here. And again, let's move to the taps. Press firmly through the heel of the hand as we lift the other side. We're going to feel a significant increase in the amount of work through that midsection. We're doing our best to keep our shoulders away from our ears here. Hands come down, turn the tops of the feet under. Press through those shoulder blades, and we're going to move ourselves up to plank. Push the floor away with the hands. Take that body side to side. Move that body to the middle. Take the feet from side to side, keeping the trunk and pelvis nice and still. Tap 4. Tap 3. Tap 2. Tap 1. Coming back to center, we take our knees down under the hips. Curl the cat, belly to the ceiling. Reverse to cow, tailbone to the ceiling. Again, let's curl up to cat. Reversing to cow. One more time, curl and reverse. Let's come right back to center. Press through those heels of the hands. Press through your far knee. We're going to unweight the shin closest to the screen. Rotate that lower part of the body toward the screen and then lower that shin back down. Lift and rotate, lower it down. Lift and rotate, lower it down. Switch sides. Lift and rotate that far hip. Lower the shin to the mat. Lift and rotate, lower it down. One more time. Lift and rotate, lower it down, and we'll open one arm at a time toward the side wall. 3. Switch 2. And 1. That hand comes down. Take those feet together and the knees apart and bring the bottom back to the heels. Let's drop our forearm, lift the hands up, give those elbows a chance to have a little weight through them, give those wrists a chance to loosen up. We'll take our forearms to the mat and let's slide the hands toward the wall in front of us, lowering that forehead down. Big breath in. Breathe it out. One more time, big breath in. As we breathe out, now we reach those hands toward the screen. Same muscles we engaged and lengthened out during our warm-up. This time we're going to take that hand closest to the screen, thread it through, cross over the body, and lower that shoulder a little closer to the floor. We're not pushing super hard. We're just going to go to see if we can get a little stretch through the outside of that arm. Let's take that hand right back in line with the other, and we'll walk to the other side. Again, we pause, taking a big breath into the side of the trunk on the side we're moving away from. Keep your far hand pressed into the floor, and weight the screen side hand. Whoop, you know what? Yeah, let's hold it there. And we're going to take our opposite hand, okay? So close side closest to the screen stays on the floor, far side lifts, and we thread that arm through. Lower gently, gently, gently onto that upper arm, getting a little stretch through the outside of the shoulder. All right, we'll unwind. Thanks for your patience there, and we walk the hands forward. Let's drop our forearm, shift over the forearm, and take any cushion that you might have under the knees out and place it off to the side. We're gonna lower that body onto our upper thighs, send the breastbone up to face the wall in front, and reset belly to spine. Let's kick one heel at a time toward the bottom, keeping that curve in the back nice and constant. It's okay to have a curve there. We will if we have that upper body lifted. We just want to keep the curve constant as we bring our heels up. 4, kick 3, here's 2, and 1. Lower that leg. We're going to bring our body down. Lowest ribs are on the floor here as we press ourselves up. And let's turn and face lengthwise on our mats, looking to the wall in front of us as one of our ears is facing our screen. We're going to get our weight over the front of our sit bones here. Bring the feet out toward the outer edges of your mat and straighten the knees if you can keep that trunk lined up over the pelvis. So we're trying to avoid that backward tip position. We also don't want to feel like we have to overarch. We want to keep our ribs in line with the body. So again, knees are bent if they need to be to keep us upright. And let's take our hands out in front of us and line them up at the middle of our feet. Breathe it in. Exhale, belly to spine, and let's hinge that body forward. Reach to the wall. Come up tall, and one more time, hinge forward. Inhale up tall, now we row. Squeeze those elbows toward each other. Squeeze those shoulder blades toward each other. Let that motion come from the blades of the arms. That rib cage stays still as we can keep it. Feel the stretch through the front of the chest. Squeeze. Let's open our arms out to T, right out to the sides. Let's take the arm closest to the screen. We're going to cross it over the body, grab your shoulder on the opposite side. Open back out to the screen, sweep the opposite arm over, touch your same side shoulder. Open the arm, bring the hand to the other shoulder. Open that arm out, bring the hand to the shoulder. We'll bring our arms down by our sides, give the shoulders a roll, and bring those feet together, shaking out the knees. Bend up those knees, scoot the bottom forward, line up the heels and the knees, so the heels and the bottom rather, so the knees are a little bit apart from each other. We're going to take our hands to the outer portions of our thighs and gently press the hands and thighs toward each other, so we're going to feel those hips engaging. Pressing out from here, we're going to keep that pressure and straighten the elbows out until we lean back and feel our midsection working. So we should feel some abdominal activation there. Give those shoulders a chance to settle away from the ears. And then we're going to open and close one arm at a time. Open and close. Open and close. Keep it going. Feel what's going on the side that we're pressing the hand and the thigh together. We're going to feel some more engagement through that middle section here. Grab the shins, pull the body up nice and tall, give the shoulders a roll. We'll take our hands back behind the body now. Let's settle the weight back to the heels of the hands. The body can lean back a little bit here. And we want our elbows straight, but they don't have to be locked out all the way. Let's squeeze our blades and send that breastbone upwards so we feel a little stretch through the top of the chest. Inch the bottom toward the heels. Feel those biceps lengthen out, feel the stretch increase through the chest. And then let's walk our heels a little closer to the bottom. We can stay here, or if we have a little more slack, lift those rear ends up. Let's hold our reverse tabletop. Big breath in, and breathe out. One more time, big breath in. Exhaling, we take that bottom down. Turn and face the screen. We can sit up either cross-legged with our weight over our sit bones, the very front of our sit bones, or we can bring our feet in front with the knees bent if that helps us get over the sit bones a little bit more. You decide what's working for you, and then we're going to float our arms out to T. Let's take a breath in, and exhaling, we draw the belly and spine toward each other. Let's tip that trunk from side to side. Nice tall side bend with the arms looking like airplane wings. They're going along for the ride. As the trunk moves, we take our pinkies down to the floor. Inhale and lift, exhale and side bend. Inhale and lift, exhale, side bend. Inhale up tall, exhale, rotate. Turn that trunk toward the side wall. Breathe right back to center. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, center. One more time to each. Rotate and center. Last time, rotate and center. We'll take our hands down to our legs. Breathe those shoulders up to the ears and drop them down. Let's tip that head side to side. Lengthen out through the side of the neck. Inhale up, and exhaling, we tip over to the other side. Let's bring ourselves up tall. We're going to lie down on our side, resting on that upper arm. with the heels lined up at the bottom and our knees forward. Let's take that top hand to the waistline. We're gonna lift up just like we did when we were on our forearms at the beginning of class. And we'll float our top hand to our hip. Let's press that top knee up and down, lifting and lowering. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's lift our feet for 4, 3, 2. Lift and hold. Feet stay together. Press the top knee up. 3, 2, 1. Hold them there. Straighten and bend those knees. If you need your top hand and down in front for a little stability, by all means, place it there. One more time. Straighten and bend. We take our knees down. We take those feet down. Press the bottom leg into the mat, and let's lift up for fire hydrants. There's 4, 3, 2, 1. Take that top hand to the mat. We're going to keep our top leg where it is and slide the bottom leg out straight. Lift the top knee up, the toes touching that bottom knee. 3, 2, 1. Lift the top foot up. Move to hydrants again. 4, 3. Feels different with that bottom leg straight, right? And 1. Straighten that top leg out. We're going to pulse it to the ceiling. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold that leg straight. Bottom leg comes up to meet it. There's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take that leg down. Bend at the knees. Give your hip a little pat. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves up and over. We are in the home stretch here. Make that way down onto our side, bending up the knees. With the hand on the waistline, we lift our waist up and lift the top knee for 4, for 3, for 2, and 1. Knees come down, lift the feet for 4, 3, 2. Lift and hold, press the knee up. Press 3. Here's 2. Lift and hold, straighten and bend those knees again, taking the hand down in front if that support is helpful. 2 more. And 1. Toes come together, take the knees down. Take the feet down, we'll move to hydrants. Lift and lower. 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the bottom leg out. Top toes are on that bottom knee and we take them down and up. There's 4. Here's 3, 2, 1. Back toward hip height, lift the foot. Hydrants again. 4 and 3. Here's 2, 1 more. Back to hip height, straighten out that top leg and we pulse it. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Top hand comes down, lift and lower that bottom leg. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take that top leg down, bend up those knees, pat out your hip, and let's make our way to our backs. All right, settling down into the floor again. Rest those hands on the mat. Draw the chin down gently toward the neck, and we'll think about widening our collarbones away from the center of the body. Let's rock those knees from side to side, allowing the hips to come up if that feels appropriate. Take them back to center. Cross one ankle over the other, lifting up if you have a little more slack. See if you can keep your hands on the mat this time. Give that lower body a little side to side rock. Coming back to center, we'll switch it up. Ankle to knee, lifting if we have the slack, and rocking away from and toward that crossed leg. Take it back to center, unwind, hug those knees into the chest, and rock side to side. Coming back to the center, we'll take our feet to the floor. Let's open those arms overhead, and keeping that middle back on the mat, we're going to reach those arms toward the wall behind us. Find that length under the armpits. Find that length through the sides of the trunk. Hold here for a big breath in. Exhale the arms to the ceiling, and we'll turn ourselves toward our screen and over to hands and knees with padding under those knees as needed. Before we rise, we're going to make our way through cat and cow. Let's go one more time each. Curl it up to cat. Reverse it through to cow and come right back to center to give that tail a little wag. We'll turn our toes under, Take the bottom toward the heels and walk the hands toward our knees. Let's take our weight over to our feet, and we'll wait to stand until we're right over the front of those ankle joints. Make sure you feel nice and steady before we press ourselves up to standing. Let's come to the center of our mat. We'll settle our weight through the center of our ankle with those feet hip width apart and parallel to each other. Let's shrug those shoulders up to the ears with the breath in and drop them down toward our hips with an exhale. Again, inhale and shrug. Exhale, drop them down. Widen up that base of support. Feet are shoulder width apart, a little wider if that feels good. Soften up the knees and we'll reset belly to spine. Let's bring those arms up and overhead, clasping the palms and pressing the hands to the ceiling. Dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Let's take a tall side bend toward the top of each side wall. One more time. Inhale up, exhale, side bend. And inhale up, exhale, side bend. Everything comes back up to the ceiling. We're going to take our feet together, open up the hands, and as we reach the fingertips up, we'll look toward them and press our palms together. Breathe out to center. Great job. All right, another Friday in the books. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we will do this again next time. Enjoy your weekend.